She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Katherine Gray.
Welcome to Live, Love, Thrive. So happy to join us today and our very special guest. She is a trailblazing attorney that's serving up justice for women. So happy to have on Lisa Bloom.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you bet. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm honored to be here.
Maybe a lot of people don't know, a lot of people do, that you're the daughter of Gloria Allred.
I am?
Yeah.
Wait a second. You know
Who
what?
knew?
That's who that woman is.
You didn't even know.
Yes. That is my mother. She is my hero, my shiro, who has inspired me all of my life.
Yeah, that's some tall shoes.
It is.
And you know, but you're filling them. I will say you are filling.
I try every day. I should know that my adult daughter, Sarah Bloom, is an attorney in my law firm helping me fight for justice.
You mentioned that.
So
I love that it's just like in y'all's DNA.
And my son is about to go to law school. So
fantastic.
We're spawning them as fast as we can, Catherine.
I love that. And you know, we were talking about you were born in Philadelphia, but moved here when you were like 5 to Los Angeles.
5 years old as a baby. My mom was a single mom at that time.
A single mom. And it's so interesting. A great majority of the women I have on this show are from single moms.
Isn't that something?
I always say, I think that it breeds a resiliency and independence.
Independence, exactly. And I raised my kids mostly as a single mom.
Oh, really?
And they had to learn to do things on their own and get around and figure things out. I couldn't solve all their problems for them. I think actually it's very healthy in a lot of ways. And you know, there was nobody there to tell me I was doing it wrong, so I got to do it my way.
Yes.
You know, there are advantages to being as a single mom. And sometimes they would go to dads and I would get a break.
Yes.
Moms need a break.
Yes.
So that was a good thing.
Yes. Well, so growing up with Gloria, that should be, sounds like a book. Had to be interesting. And, you know, I know she's such a trailblazer, but you are just following in those footsteps, and you have done and are doing incredible work in the world. And as any public person, you know, everybody gets scrutiny, and nobody's perfect. You know, I will say I had on last week, Robin Tyler, and
dear friend,
yes,
lifelong friend,
yes, and she called you an earth angel. I don't know if you know this, but she wrote to me and said that, and I would say a controversial earth angel,
well,
which is really the best kind to be.
You know, most of my career, I have not been controversial.
Right.
Or I was controversial in a different way. You know, the right always came at me because I would be suing people for sexual assault or race discrimination.
Right.
And so Fox News always came after me and the right came after me. And
you gotta have
now
thick
the left
skin.
comes after me.
You got to have thick skin.
You know, I try.
Yeah.
I am a human being.
Yes.
Things do sometimes get to me. But to me, it's all about my clients and the cases that we fight for.
Right.
And
you have fought for
signed
so
up for this.
many.
So here's the way I look at it. I signed up for this.
Yes.
I went to law school. I chose to be a lawyer. I chose to do high-profile cases. I chose to go after the Bill Cosbys of the world and the Bill O'Reillys of the world and the Steve Winns and Trey Songz and all these people.
And Jeffrey Epstein.
And Jeffrey Epstein now, right? And I knew I would get a certain amount of blowback. My clients didn't, right? They find themselves in a place and time, and then they're a victim of discrimination, harassment, or abuse.
Right.
And sometimes they're in the media. And it's 1,000 times harder for them than it is for me because they are surprised and shocked. They didn't intend. They were intending to be a makeup artist or a salesperson or an assistant or whatever their job was.
Right.
And then they found themselves in this situation, and they had to decide, am I going to stand up or not?
Right.
I already made that decision. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's no time for me to feel sorry for myself. If people come after me, they're going to come after me. I just got to keep on marching forward. And, you know, I'll tell you something else is the one thing that I have done differently than really any other high-profile lawyer that I know of is I admit my mistakes.
Right.
And I apologize for them.
Yes.
Because that's what I taught my kids.
And I saw that you did that. I've read in the media where, you know, you felt you made a mistake and you apologized for it and said, hey, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And so
That's
are
all
all
any
humans.
of us can do.
And I say anybody throwing stones, I'm sure they've made a few mistakes in their life.
I mean, if they're human,
people do.
They probably did.
Yeah.
You know,
but I'd say I think all the good you are doing outweighs any mistakes.
Well,
and you are
thank you.
defending so many women and have for so many years and won huge cases for them. let's talk about Janice Dickinson. I just saw her the other day at Chateau Marmont.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I know that you helped her with the Bill Cosby case.
Yes. So
Yeah.
Janice Dickinson, in 2014, I saw her do an interview. She was one of the first women to come out publicly, and certainly the most famous one at that time, to come out
Cosby.
publicly and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
Cosby raped me.
Wow.
And it had happened in 1982, so I thought about it as a lawyer. Could she sue him for this? No, it's time barred, meaning the time deadline has long passed. Too bad. And then I saw the next day that Cosby, through his attorney, called her a liar. And I thought, aha, now she might have a claim. She might have a defamation claim.
wow.
And there's a 1-year time deadline from the time somebody defames you. So I went on
God,
CNN.
you are so smart. That is awesome.
Thank you. I went on CNN and I said, I think Janice Dickinson has a defamation case against Bill Cosby. I hope she calls me. I didn't know her.
Oh my gosh,
And
I love this story.
she did call me.
Wow.
We investigated it very thoroughly. I knew it would be a big fight against Bill Cosby. We filed a lawsuit. We fought it for 4 years, hundreds, if not thousands, of attorney hours in my firm fighting this guy, up and down on appeal, up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And we kept winning. They kept appealing. Finally, we got a huge victory for her. I'm not allowed to say the dollar amount, but I am allowed to say it was an epic settlement. It is life-changing.
That is
and it's
fantastic.
huge. And we won 2 reported appeals, which mean that other rape victims in California are helped by those decisions, which find that if you call a rape victim a liar, that can be defamation. If you set your attorney to do it up for you, you're still responsible for what your attorney says publicly about a victim. So that was a wonderful victory.
Wow.
Janice stood
like
strong.
I said, you're a trailblazer.
Thank you. And she got
Yeah.
stronger,
Yeah.
every year too. At first, she was really afraid, like all my clients are.
Right.
But she got stronger each year. She went and testified in his criminal trial. I helped her with that. She got up there on the stand. She was brilliant. I was so proud of her.
Let's talk about some of your other cases. There was Chyna.
Blac Chyna. So I was very proud to represent her against Rob Kardashian, who was still is the father of her baby, in a revenge porn case. So he had posted obscene photos of her that were meant to be private photos, and a lot of ugly language about her, accusing her of cheating on him, et cetera, even though they had already been broken up at that point, and she's free to date whoever she wanted to. So we went in immediately, got restraining orders. One of the things
And you won that case.
Well, actually, part of it's still in litigation, but we won in the sense that we got the restraining orders immediately, and I've been able to get California courts 3 times to find that revenge porn is a form of domestic abuse, right? Domestic abuse isn't just hitting somebody, insulting somebody anymore. A lot of it is done online, insulting people, humiliating them, and revenge porn is a hard thing. Girls have killed themselves over, naked
God.
photos being posted.
Yeah.
It's a very serious thing. My daughter did her law school note, which is a big published paper you do, about revenge porn. So she actually taught me a lot about revenge porn. And we've been proud to get courts to say, yes, it's a form of domestic abuse, which means they can act very quickly
Now,
on
see,
it.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because there could be listeners out there that are victims
Yes.
of that and maybe didn't know that they could get a lawsuit
Right.
in order because
Yes.
of that. So,
And you
thanks
can
for
go
sharing
in and
that.
get a temporary restraining order, even without a lawyer, without any charge. Just go in and explain it to the judge. Bring all of your evidence. Go in and get it taken care of, and that will block them from posting it. That will require them to take it down, and if they do it again, they can go to jail.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
very important.
Good information.
Thank you.
I know there's just so many caveats to this whole thing of the Me Too movement and the abuse of women, and you just talk about 2 different forms of it. And then there's some other high-profile cases that you've worked on. I know we have some photos.
Do you want me to talk about my transgender case?
Yes, I do.
So that's one I'm also very proud of. So I represent here in Los Angeles 3 transgender women and a gay man. They went to a local bar on the day of downtown LA Pride after they had all day been doing work in the Hispanic LGBT community.
Celebrating the goodness of
Celebrating
freedom
how great it is and letting people know about their rights and how they can get health care, which is a nonprofit they work with. And they were at a bar just sitting there minding their own business, and a male-female came up and started harassing them using very ugly language, saying to the transgender women that they're men and that it's he, and misgendering them, which is very offensive, and threatening them and threatening to go get a gun and shoot them. So they went up and reported these 2 to security. Security removed them, which was the right thing to do. And then security came back and told them they had to leave. And they said, well, why do we have to leave? We didn't do anything wrong. We're just sitting here trying to have a drink after Pride.
Right.
And the security insisted that they leave. One of them, thank goodness, made a video and physically dragged them out, threw them down a couple of steps. They got some physical injuries. But, emotionally, is this not the 1950s when LGBT people are getting kicked out of bars just for being themselves? So we had a press conference, and we are demanding justice for them. And part of the justice that we're demanding is LGBTQ training, which I've gotten other companies to do as well as part of a settlement. Because our cases aren't just about getting compensation, although I think that is important for victims. It's about making change and enlightening people.
That you go that extra mile.
So let's see the training. Especially with trans issues, a lot of people are just very ignorant. So we need to be educating. We need to have a big education
And
campaign.
I do believe it's film and television that really changes culture.
Yeah.
And I'm glad there's so many new trans shows out there that are helping to desensitize people about what it means to be born and feel like you're a different sex, and that it's not a big deal. It's something that should be embraced, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that there's more and more positive programming out there about it. But
and these people are so brave. All of the non-binary people and trans people.
They
Like,
are
what
brave.
did the gender binary ever do for me? Frankly,
Yeah.
the sooner we get rid of it, the better.
Yes.
The sooner. I saw that there is an actor who's trying to get rid of the male-female categories for the Oscars and the Emmys, and it's the non-binary actor from Billions. I don't recall their name.
Yeah.
But they were saying, we don't sort people based on eye color or skin color or age. Why are we still sorting people by gender? I thought that was a great point.
I agree. Now, your background is you went to, was it Harvard?
Yale Law School.
Yale.
Please.
Okay. Yale.
That's our rival.
Oops, Yale. Yale. And then you were part of a debate team, right?
Yeah, when I was in college, I was on the debate team at UCLA, and we were the national champions.
UCLA, then Yale.
Right.
I knew there was
Yes.
another school in there. Yeah.
Yes.
Two great schools,
Thank
by the way.
you. Well, at UCLA,
better than
I was,
Harvard.
I was well. Yale is the number one law school in the country. UCLA, I was all about debate with my team. We traveled all over the country. We researched until the middle of the night. We worked really hard, and we won the national championship my junior year out of hundreds of schools. It was very exciting, and I was the top debater.
Oh my gosh.
So that will
I'm not
always
surprised.
be something that really meant a lot to me because we worked so hard.
Yeah. Did you know? So, have you known from a young age that you wanted to be be an attorney?
No.
No.
No,
Oh.
in fact, the opposite. So my mother went to law school when I was in middle school, and she worked really hard. And I saw how hard she worked, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not going to be that.
Yeah.
And then when I was in
Surprise.
college, I volunteered at a battered women's shelter called Sojourn in Santa Monica, and I worked with the kids of battered women. And it was very meaningful work to me. And I thought, maybe I will be a social worker. And my mom said, social workers are wonderful, but you need to be a lawyer. That's what you're cut out to do.
Right.
You were the national champion debater.
Yes.
So she said, just take the LSAT. It doesn't have to mean anything. So I took it. I did very well. And then she said, okay, well, just apply to law schools. It doesn't have to mean anything.
Oh, that's.
And I said, okay, I applied. And then I got into Harvard and Yale and all the rest. And then she said, well, just go see them, right? It's so funny. So she suckered me into it. But I'm glad you did, Mom. I'm very glad. 33 years later.
Yeah.
I'm very glad.
And all the women that you've helped.
Well,
Thank
thank you. Well, we
Is it-
have, if I may just brag for one moment,
Sure.
like any business owner would, I now own and manage probably the largest civil rights law firm in the country. So we just opened our third
That's
office.
impressive, yes.
We are going on 20 lawyers, and we fight cases all over the country. So people think it's just me.
I was going to say, and people think you only do high-profile cases,
Right.
but let's say someone's listening and they're in a situation, a Me Too situation, that
Right.
is a legitimate lawsuit.
Right.
They could contact the Bloom
Absolutely.
firm because you
Absolutely.
have a staff of attorneys that are all fighting for justice.
Yes. And so I don't want to take all the credit. I will take the blame when there's mistakes, but I don't want to take all the credit because I don't do everything, and nor could I. So I have a wonderful team of attorneys, paralegals, assistants, et cetera. And as I said, we do cases all over the country, and probably 98% of our cases are not celebrity cases. They're just ordinary people. That's who we really, frankly, are most passionate about. So I had a case, this is the Chastity Jones case, and I think we have a picture. I had a case earlier this year. Chastity Jones was a salesperson at a local entertainment company owned by a guy named Alki David, a billionaire. and she accused him of sexual harassment. We fought her case for 2.5 years. We got to trial. I was lead counsel at trial. We fought very hard for her, and we won a groundbreaking verdict of $11 million for her. Since then, the judge has added to it, so now we're up at about over $12 million. And that's one of the largest verdicts for a sexual harassment plaintiff in California history. I had a second trial against him, and another woman ended in a hung jury, so we're going to have to retry it. So
do you think
I also try cases, and a lot of lawyers don't do that.
Do you think winning all these cases and all this, the money for these people, do you think it's going to help deter the sexual harassment?
I hope so.
Yeah,
because
I hope so too. I'm just wondering.
Of the law, right? That's the whole idea. Is if you don't do the right thing in the first place,
right?
Well, maybe paying a lot of money will deter you, right?
Yes.
Maybe that will wake you up.
I hope so.
Most business owners care about their bottom line, right?
Yes.
So if that's going to affect them, and we do a lot of private settlements, but then we do a lot of things publicly as well. And I think, listen, each victim who stands up is really doing something important, not only for herself, but for everybody else. And I always tell my clients, you are helping so many people who you will never know about.
Right.
Chastity Jones, God bless her, was so brave. She's on the stand for 3 days, I think, long cross-examination, and she was just steely, and she got through it. I mean, she walked through the fire. God bless her. And I think she's going to help and inspire so many other women.
Yeah, I have a dear friend that helped put their perp away. It was a stepfather. And
wow.
And I just so admire that she did that, because so few people do step up. I know more and more are, thanks to people like you attracting people to know that they have advocates out there. But, in the past, a lot has gone unjust.
And a lot still does.
And a lot still does. Yes, we do.
And also, I salute those who are in the shadows, who are not ready to come out and who are still afraid, because I understand that fear. I've spoken about this before a little bit. I was sexually abused as a child. I was sexually harassed in a job as an adult. I didn't take to the rooftops and talk about it. There is a process that you have to go through. You have to get to a certain age.
Right.
You have to have support around you. You have to feel comfortable. Our culture has changed a lot, where people are talking about this now. And I don't know how old you are, but I'm 58, and I can remember when nobody talked about this.
Believe me, I've had a lot of people come out on my show talking about sexual harassment for the first time.
Wow.
And I say, wow, if I did this podcast even 5 years ago, nobody would have ever talked about it. So it always amazes me. And I know that when people do finally talk publicly, it puts it out in the light and takes a big weight off of them.
Yes, I think that's right.
So I'm happy to provide that platform. And I'm happy that you shared that, because I always say whatever challenges people have gone through in life tends to be something about their life's purpose. And there it is perfectly for you. As awful as I'm sure that was, look how it probably drove you to say, I'm going to help women in this situation.
Well, it did. And I also think I'm in a place where I really can help. Listen, I sit with my clients every day, and they're in tears and they're afraid. And I understand, because I have been there.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Is it hard to sleep at night? Because, for me, I am so sensitive. I would be like, I couldn't sleep if I heard these people's stories, and then I had to go and fight it. And that's got to take a lot of energy and emotion to take that in, because I know you care about them.
Yes, of course I care about them. But we also take them from victim to victor. So they become very empowered.
Yes.
And by the end of the process, they sit taller. They walk a little more confidently.
I love that.
And if we get them a substantial amount of money, which we often do, then they change their lives always in very positive ways. They go back to school.
Yeah.
They pay off their debt.
It empowers them to do their life
They take
purpose.
the classes they always wanted to take to change careers. One of my clients said, I'm going to go to law school now and be a women's rights attorney like you, Lisa. And I thought, that's very sweet. I'm sure that's not really going to happen. Well, 2 years later, she's halfway through law school. She's emailing me, can she come intern at my firm?
Oh, my God.
Answer, yes, you can. I would love to have you, right?
Oh, I love that story.
People's lives change, and I also want people to know there's hope. And I often say to my clients when they're in that really dark place that, look at me. I survived this. I have a great life. I'm fine. Even when people come after me with negativity, I'm fine, and I'm going to keep on charging forward. So that can be you. Like, I'm a living example of what is possible. And,
Yes,
you know,
you
when I
are.
was a depressed teenager, I wish somebody had said that to me, you know, like it gets better, the It Gets Better
Yeah.
campaign for
Yes.
LGBT youth.
Yeah.
You know, it gets better for sexual abuse survivors. It really does.
And then on a lighter note, I just want to share that you also are extraordinary in having walked the Appalachian Trail and climbed Kilimanjaro. And I mean,
Oh,
you
thank
know,
you.
it's nice to see that you have that balance in your life. So many women that are working so hard don't, and I think it's crucial
Right.
to our well-being. We can only be giving back and paying it forward if we have the energy to do so.
So to
and
me-
gosh knows you have energy.
So to me, it's
if you're on that Appalachian Trail, my
yes.
friend just walked that, Jane
Really?
McCord, and
the whole thing?
Yeah, the whole
Okay,
thing.
so I didn't do the whole thing on
Yeah.
the Appalachian Trail. I've done segments of it. I did go up Kilimanjaro. I have done the Annapurna Circuit in Nepal, which is an 11-day trek and fairly challenging, and the Inca Trail in Peru. So
what makes you want to do that? Like,
because I love it. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
It's to me, what's the most therapeutic is the mountains and fresh air and walking, and also animals. So I'm also an animal rights activist, longtime vegetarian and vegan.
Oh, fantastic.
And working to get laws changed in California to protect animals. We've had some great progress there. I just went to Taiwan and spoke there to a bunch of
Wow.
Asian animal rights activists. So listen,
you
I
are
need,
an earth angel. Yeah.
I do need to take a break and
Yes.
go out in the mountains.
Everybody does.
I think it was John Muir who said the mountains are calling and I must go, and that's how I feel. Like
Yes.
that's that. Without that, I don't know what I would be.
Right,
I love the
right,
mountains.
right.
I live in the hills. I live among coyotes and rattlesnakes and owls and bunnies hopping around, and it's wonderful.
So, so you're a big animal rights advocate as well as a
Yes.
human rights advocate. I
Yes.
love that. Is there something that we don't know about you that you might share with us today?
Oh my goodness. I love to play Lexulus, which is like Scrabble on steroids.
Oh,
that's
is
another
it-
kind
is
of
that a
stressful.
game on the phone,
It's a
or-
game you can
Oh,
play
those
on
are
your
so addictive.
phone.
Yeah.
And when I'm having some stress, I will go and play. It's a great stress reliever.
Yeah. Is it like that? My wife loves that crossword puzzle thing.
I like crosswords, but
Yeah.
Lexulus is my thing. If I'm on a conference call and it gets boring,
Yeah.
I might play.
Uh-oh, now the people on the other end are going to know.
I don't know if I should give that away. On hold, waiting for the judge on a court
good save.
call. You know what? My husband teases me, but it's a stress relief. It's
Yeah.
free. It's not alcohol or drugs. Like,
Yeah.
don't take that away from me.
Yes. So what is it that you have left to do that you haven't done yet?
Definitely more animal activism. So I work with a group called Social Compassion and Legislation, and we've been getting great laws passed in California. For example, mandating vegan options in prisons, schools, public buildings, so that people can have that option, which is much healthier for them and better for the planet and better for the animals. A lot of kids have asked for vegan options in schools. So I think that's very important because a lot of kids naturally bond with animals and they don't want to eat animals, and they might even have supportive parents. But then they go to school and there's nothing for them to eat and they kind of give up. So I think they
Yes.
should have that option.
Yes, I love that they have
right?
the option.
Yeah.
I have this program we're producing called She Angels, and it's like women entrepreneurs, and we try to get funding for them. And one that submitted was she was a homeless woman who started a vegan hot dog cart, and now she has like this little
I love it.
successful business.
I love
and
it.
she's like, why can't homeless people eat healthy
Yes.
too?
So I
And,
love that.
yeah, isn't
When
that
I was
great?
in law school, I volunteered at a soup kitchen that was all vegetarian. And we
wow.
gave out the food. There was an old converted school bus. I remember it vividly with these big vats of vegan chili we would be stirring and gave it to them. And they loved it. Most people really like vegetarian and vegan food when they try it. It's just if you make good food,
Yes.
whatever it is,
Yes.
people like it. People think, oh, I don't like vegan, but then you make something good. They
Well,
like
I love the new Impossible burgers.
those are really good.
And I never thought I would eat that. I like a burger,
Yeah,
but the
they're
Impossible
good.
Burger to me tastes the same as a burger. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, if I can eat that instead, it's better for me. It's better for the planet. It's
Thank
obviously
you.
better for the cows.
So bless
And
you.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
thank
so
you.
I'm
And-
trying to shift over into to that
and you
way
know
of
that's
thinking.
really, you don't have to be perfect, right? The perfect should not be the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
So if people even go vegan one day a week,
Right.
or there's a VB6 movement, vegan before 6 p.m. I think Oprah's doing some kind of part-time vegan thing right now.
Oh, I didn't know
so,
that.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Just moving in that direction. It's so much better for the planet. It's a huge issue for climate change.
It is. It
Animal
is.
agriculture. By some estimates, it's the majority of climate change is caused by animal agriculture.
So who would have thought this staunch attorney out there pounding the ground for women was also saving the world with these vegetarian habits and taking care of the planet and the animals. And I mean, you have such a nice balance. The only thing I do want to end on, because I think people will be curious, and so I'm going to go back to the cases, is that this Jeffrey Epstein case, I know you're representing 5 of
Yes.
those victims.
Yes.
And it's such an unusual case because, obviously, because he died and,
Yeah. Mysteriously.
died.
Right.
Who believes that? But
Right.
that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But so people have asked me, because they knew I was going to talk to you, what's going to happen with these women since he's passed, and I guess there's an estate, so they go up against the estate, I guess.
Correct.
Right?
So we filed a lawsuit several months ago against him on behalf of 2 of our victims. We call them Jane Doe 1 and 2 because they want to be anonymous. And we're going to be adding more probably to that lawsuit. And yes, so after he died, we made a demand on the estate that, frankly, I think all of his money should go to the victims.
Absolutely.
Not just the ones I represent. All of them.
Right.
All the money should go to the victims. I mean, wouldn't that be justice?
Right.
And so I call upon the administrators of his estate to do in his death the right thing that he never did during his life, which is to find some accountability here and to give some justice to the victims. A lot of what I do is explain to people the damage that is caused by sexual harassment or sexual assault, which is profound and lifelong, especially if you don't get treatment. And the more high profile somebody is, the more painful it can be.
And when someone hasn't been through something, I don't think they understand.
Right.
Just like anything. If you haven't lost a person, you don't know. If you haven't divorced a person, you don't know. If you haven't been adopted, you don't know. So if you haven't been sexually molested, you cannot understand how that impacts somebody and breaks their spirit and changes their life.
Yes.
People do not understand that. And I'm glad that people are finally starting at least to try.
Yeah. And so we're going to fight his estate if we have to, if they don't do the right thing voluntarily. I know it was administered, his will was administered in the Virgin Islands. If we have to go to the Virgin Islands, and that's where we're going to go. I mean,
do you think they'll get justice?
Yes. I always assume every case I file is going to be a huge fight. You know, these powerful people, they didn't get rich and powerful by just rolling over every time somebody made an allegation against them. So they're going to fight. I understand that. I expect that. I'm not going to file a case unless I'm intending to fight it all the way through to the end. Most of the time, we get victories for our clients. So we know how to do it, and that's what we expected in the Epstein case.
How did they feel when he was killed or died or whatever happened?
So at that point, I represented 2, and they had very different reactions because, of course, they're different people. And one of them said, "I'm so angry that the jail officials allowed this to happen because now I won't see him face criminal liability," because we've been working with the criminal authorities too. So she was so angry about that. The other one said, "I don't wish death on anyone, but it was kind of a relief.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He can't harm anyone else ever again.
I can
and
see
he can't
both of
come
those
at
reactions.
me. He can't retaliate. They're all so afraid of the retaliation.
Sure.
And you know what? Even after his death, there's still a lot of fear because what about all of his associates who are out there?
Yeah, even the person I mentioned that has put their stepdad away still always fears that they'd be released. And I understand that, having been in that with them, I understand that fear of them being released from prison.
Yeah, fear is the biggest hurdle that my clients have in all of our cases. I have a little sign in my office from the poet Rumi that says, "Fear is the cheapest room in the house. I wish that you could live in better quarters."
Oh my God, I love that.
Right.
That we're going to end with that.
Okay.
Yes, because if people are out there listening, they're part of having the injustice of a Me Too happen to them. I hope they will reach out to the Bloom firm or whatever attorney they feel comfortable representing them. But I do hope they step forward, because I always say, if you don't do anything, you're not empowering yourself and you're not helping other women. And so sometimes they need to walk through it and say, it's not about me. but it is
But it
because
is
you'll
about-
heal.
right.
Because you'll heal. But it's also the bigger picture is how many other women you will help.
That's
And
right. And
that's what
often
I
it's
think
that
it-
first step is the
Yes,
scariest. But if you
yes.
reach out to an attorney, that first call, at least to our law firm, is always free. I think it is to most, and confidential.
Yes.
So you really don't have anything to lose by finding out what your rights are. One of
Right.
the problems are these time deadlines, right? So sometimes people will wait too long, and then they call me, and I have to tell them, oh, your statute of limitations expired last week.
Right.
So it's always better for people to reach out sooner
And what
rather
is
than
that
later.
time frame?
Well, it's complicated. It depends. So in California, for sexual harassment in employment, 1 year. It's about to extend to 3 years, but not retroactively.
1 year.
For child sexual abuse in California, a window is opening in January where you can reach back, I think 20 or 30 years, but you have 1 year. Basically, the year 2020, you can reach back and file a lawsuit. In New York, there's a window that's just opened. Also, you can reach back for older child sexual abuse claims. If there's a sexual assault, it could be 3 years if you were an adult. So it's complicated.
I'm so glad that you're saying this, though,
Right.
because I don't feel like that information is out there for everybody to take in. So I hope
Right.
somebody heard that today and
Yeah.
they step forward to take advantage of some
just
of these
don't wait. If you're
opportunities.
thinking about it,
Yes,
the statutes
yes.
of limitations, they
And,
help
and if
the
you don't know,
perpetrators.
just reach out and ask.
Right,
Like
exactly.
you said, it's a free call.
It's a free call.
Yeah.
So what's the harm?
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you
You're
for
so
all
lovely.
you're doing.
I appreciate
And
you.
thank you for tuning in. We hope that this program makes a difference to you and to you and your friends and family. Make it a great week. Hugs and happiness.